Hey Megan,
Hey, what?
what's the most musical part of a chicken?
I don't know what.
A drumstick.
I don't get it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engage, a family gaming podcast. This is episode 175, and I'm your host, Steven Dutzman. This is the official video game and board game podcast for EngageFamilyGaming.com. EFG is a website where parents like myself and my co-hosts come together to give everyone the information they need to get their family game on. This week, it's a special week. Teala is back with us.
Yay!
She has been gone for a while because she has been busy working 40 billion hours a day.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's not going to get any better because, it's the summertime soon. But we're going to take advantage and have you with us whenever possible. And it's a cozy fireside chat today. Because Amanda, the Princess of Power, is off doing some stuff with her family. Because many parts of her family will be traveling soon, and I guess it's okay for her to take a night off to spend time with her husband before he leaves. I guess.
We'll give it to her.
I mean, I'll allow it. So, this week, it's video game week. And so we have a couple things to talk about. Both Teala and I are bringing a very exciting game to the table to talk about for Around the Horn. Then we're going to talk about how Nintendo is just savage right now and just killing everybody in the video game space. And then we have a special guest. We will be cutting to our break, and then it will be me talking to Chris and Sarah Chipman of the Raising Geeks podcast. I had a really cool recording session with them last night where I recorded an episode of their show and vice versa. And they're really cool folks. And so we talked about a whole bunch of things, and we plugged their stuff, and so that should be a fun little kind of side adventure. But our main quest today, Teala, we got to talk about Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
But before we do that, I do want to thank everybody for listening. We want the episodes to be as interactive as possible. So please reach out to us on social media and give us any comments, questions, concerns. Do you want Teala to take over the show and you want me to get fired? Whatever, make your suggestions. We will entertain them. I can't make any promises about Teala taking over the show, but whatever, make your suggestions. So, video games, Teala.
Yes.
Aren't they great?
Yeah, I love them.
And there have been a lot of really good games so far this year. So why don't you tell me, because I'm excited to hear about it, and the people listening about Forager. Are you playing it on that fancy new laptop?
I am. Wait, let me turn off my video connection real quick. I'm losing you a little bit. Okay. So I bought a brand new Razer laptop, the top of the line, and it's a rose quartz one, and I bought Forager on it because I was like, I need to play this game, and it's not out on the PS4 or on the Switch yet, and I was really excited for it when I saw it. It's so cute. There's not a whole lot to do in it yet, but basically the gist of the game is that it's an experience-based level up. You take down trees, you take down slimes in this one area, and they repopulate as you're doing it. So there's always a way to grant yourself XP. You are expanding lands by generating some sort of money. There's always upgrades to be getting. Every time you level up, there's a whole new area that you can explore into. There's 4 different main areas. There's like the wood cutting and the smithing, the whole that part. There's gathering. There's actually making money and making banks. But it's insane how much. Oh, and then there's the magic aspect, sorry. But it's just insane how much there is to do. There's 64 different nodes to unlock, so you have to get to level 64 to actually even 100% unlock everything. There's just insane amounts to do, and as you're doing more and unlocking more things and getting higher levels and everything, you actually you unlock new things. So you're I started playing, I only had slimes and chickens that would show up as like enemies.
Okay.
And then I found a little cow that I immediately, because I knew I needed the leather from it, I was like, this little cow. And then I had to murder it. But no blood. It's very pixelated, so cute. It's so much fun.
Yeah, how funny is it that you bought this amazingly super-powered gaming PC, and the first thing you did was go, you know what I want? I want a 16-bit pixel art survival game.
I want that game.
How about this thing that I could probably play on a toaster?
Yeah.
Man, it looks awesome. It's one of those things, I know it's coming to Switch soon, which is the main reason why I've been holding off. It definitely feels like a game that we could probably stream here. I know it's definitely a Jakey game. I don't know about the other guys, but it definitely feels like a Jakey game. We will have it. We will definitely have it when it comes to the Switch, and I think it's coming to the Switch over the summer. And you know what? It really does feel like, because I watched some streams. There was one of the Mommy Gamers, friend of the show, was streaming it on the Extra Life channel today, and I was watching it and said, you know what, this feels like a really good summer game, put it on the Switch, sit in the backyard, kind of do a few little things, kind of get lost in it a little bit.
It's super easy to pick it up and put it down too. Like, it's not one where you have to worry about a whole lot of stuff going on in it. It's just you're leveling up and you're finding new things and you're unlocking new places, and then you keep going, so super simple to pick up and put down. I mean, not that I didn't play hours in it already, but
I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? So that's Forager. It's on Steam right now. How much did you end up paying for it? Was it like $15?
I think it was $15, yeah. 15, maybe 20 at the most.
Yeah, so it's one of those, this is a kind of an impulse buy kind of game. I mean, it's got your seal of approval. I certainly think it looks cool. It's not rated super, I think it's rated E10 plus tops by the ESRB.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of game we're talking about. If you're not sure about it, just go to YouTube, look up Forager. There are tons of videos right now. This is one of those games that I think is going to be quietly streamed a lot. I think a lot of Stardew Valley streamers and content creators are going to pick this one up for a little while just to give themselves a little bit of a break. But yeah, that's Forager. I love it. I haven't played it yet, but I know I will like it. I know I will like it.
It's so much fun.
So do you want to know about my game of the year so far?
Of course.
Okay, so we do this new thing, as of last week.
Okay. So it's super new.
It's super new, where I declare at any given time my game of the year so far.
Okay.
And so basically it's like King of the Mountain,
Yeah.
Right now, the King of the Mountain, for a while it was Tetris 99, and I thought Tetris 99 was going to carry it through.
Yeah.
Because Tetris 99 is bananas. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about a little bitty game called Steam World Quest.
Okay.
Now, have you played any of the Steam World games before?
I haven't.
Okay. So that's...
Oh, wait. I might have played. Dig, is that one of them?
Yeah, SteamWorld Dig is one of them. Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, if you haven't played any of them, that's a crime.
I think I played number 2.
Okay. The one where you're a girl?
Yeah.
That's 2. So, SteamWorld is a whole kind of IP from Image and Form out of Sweden. And what's funny about it is they all use the same kind of design aesthetic, in that everything is like robots that are steam powered and kind of feel like they're held together by duct tape.
Yeah.
And they all move a certain way. They almost look like paper dolls.
Okay.
And every time they make the game, they make a different genre, with the only exception being SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2, which were Metroidvanias. So they made those. They made SteamWorld Quest, or not SteamWorld Quest. They made SteamWorld Heist, which is like a 2D XCOM style squad-based strategy game where you're that was set in a universe that was kind of Firefly-ish, meaning you were like a pirate captain, kind of running missions and invading other ships. And man, was that cool.
Yeah, that sounds like really fun.
They are, yeah, SteamWorld Heist is one of the better games I've played in the last couple of years. I've been having a hankering to go back to it. But just in time, they delivered me SteamWorld Quest, which is an RPG. It's a turn-based role-playing game. Now, the combat is card-based. And so here's how it works. You can have up to 3 characters in your party. Each character, you build a deck of cards for them that is 8 cards, that contains 8 cards. And then they all get shuffled together, and you have a 24-card deck that you are constantly cycling through to get everybody's abilities. And so those cards represent attacks, healing, spells that you can cast, etc. There are a couple of... And so you can play up to 3 cards per turn. And that's how you attack enemies. 2 extra rules come into play. One of them, if you play 3 of a given character's cards in one turn, you get a bonus move that is determined by the kind of equipment that they have. For example, the wizard, or the alchemist as they call her, if you use 3 of her spells, she starts the game by putting a shield up on everybody. So it's like proactive healing, kind of like in Dragon Age Inquisition, if you use that stuff. So, but there's other stuff too. The main character, you can put like a bleed effect on the enemies where they'll deal damage, they'll take damage every turn, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So so that's one kind of extra rule. The other one is some of the abilities are basic attacks that build up a steam meter, and the others drain it. So you have to like kind of balance that out. But obviously the ones that drain it do more damage.
You mean a steamometer?
The steam, I mean, not really. It's a gauge. Really, there are gears at the top of the screen that kind of keep track of how much steam power you have.
Okay.
And so you have to both gain that and expend it kind of throughout your turns. I want to say the combat is super satisfying. It is, when you build and really, if you enjoy manipulating decks and, figuring out card combinations, if you're one of those kind of nerds, then this game takes it to the next level. If you just want to do very basic stuff, you absolutely can, and the game doesn't punish you for that. Yeah. This is one of those games that really you get out of that system what you put into it.
Yeah.
But you could just fill it up with basic attacks and you would be fine for the most part. Man, is it good. The story is fun. All the other ones were set in like this far-flung post-apocalyptic future. And this one is actually set in the past, quote unquote, even though they're robots. Yeah. So there's like no guns and lasers and spaceships. It's like swords and spells and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
The story's fun. There's nothing to write home about. Like, this isn't the narrative of the year, but it's funny enough that you're interested in seeing what's happening. The characters look cool, and there are 5 characters that you can get, and they all are very different and do very different things. You can definitely pick your favorites. You don't have to really include characters that you don't want to. It's super fun. It is right now my game of the year so far. And
that sounds like a lot of fun.
As I look out over the rest of the year, I'm not sure that I see anything that can compete.
Yeah. What about Animal Crossing if that finally comes out?
First off, will it?
We're pretty early into the year for you to be saying this.
But this is, who I am. I am a hype monster. And also, there's nothing saying that this is my game of the year so far.
That's true.
I am absolutely willing to concede that someone else is some other game can totally come out. Animal Crossing, Pokemans. Obviously, we have we have E3 coming up in 5 weeks, by the way.
Yay!
And so we know, you and I both know there'll be plenty of things announced there that we don't even have an idea about. So
yeah.
There's lots to come, but right now, game of the year so far, SteamWorld Quest.
Okay.
So that was our Around the Horn. We both brought some pretty good heat today.
I agree.
We did. So let's talk about the topic of the day, which is Nintendo.
Yeah,
I have it on good authority that you enjoy Nintendo games.
I do.
So, would you be surprised to know that there are many, many millions of other people who also like Nintendo games? Because I'm not surprised. So here's what happened. End of March was the end of Nintendo's fiscal year, right? So their year goes from April 1 to March 31st. I don't know why. There's a reason, and I don't know. I just don't know. But it doesn't really matter. So they ended their fiscal year at the end of March. And so one of the things they have to do, since they're publicly traded, is they have to do like a big earnings meeting to tell their investors how they did versus their projections and what they're planning on doing for the next year. So I thought I would share some fairly interesting data that they shared about the games, and specifically kind of the highlights as far as how many how many consoles they've sold and things like that. They originally projected that the Nintendo Switch was going to sell 20 million units last year. They fell short of that and only sold about 17.
Oh, only
17. Well, it is still they did still miss the mark, but they sold 17 million. Currently, the Nintendo Switch has sold approximately 34 million Switches in 2 years. That is bananas.
That's astronomical.
It is almost 3 times as many as the Wii U. And it has eclipsed officially both the GameCube and the Nintendo 64, and is coming up very quickly on the Super NES. The Super Nintendo only sold about 49 million lifetime, and so the Nintendo Switch is rocketing past it at its current pace. Software, it has sold 187 million games.
Yeah, jeez.
That's a lot. And so
That is a lot.
what that really tells us is Nintendo clearly has a hit on their hands. I mean, you and I kind of knew that to begin with.
Yeah.
You definitely knew that because you saw when you were my girl at GameStop. I mean, you saw those things fly off the shelves.
Oh, yeah, that was a nightmare.
It has not stopped. So
No.
those poor employees, they still have to they still have to ship these out. And the games keep selling too. For sake of information, here's my question for you. A little bit of trivia. What is the best-selling Nintendo Switch game?
I imagine it's something Mario related.
That's a fair guess, but I'm going to make you pick a game.
Mario,
No cheating and just saying Mario.
Mario Kart.
Well done. It's like you pitched out a whole bunch of those cartridges.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling Nintendo Switch game at almost 17 million units.
Holy cow.
Now, here's what's crazy. You and I know this is a port.
Yeah.
This game originally came out on the Wii, or the Wii U rather.
Yep.
They sold a bunch of those. In fact, just looking at the numbers, Mario Kart 8 sold almost 9 million units on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive considering they only sold about 13 million of those.
Yeah.
So some other interesting and noteworthy numbers: Super Mario Odyssey at almost 14.5 million. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which just came out in December,
Yeah.
13.8 million units.
Oh.
Now, some additional Smash stats, because this is crazy. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is also the best-selling fighting game of all time.
Wow.
Also, 3 of the top 5 best-selling fighting games of all time are all Smash titles.
Wow.
Super Smash Brothers is, I mean, outside of Mario Kart, which I think is probably the quote-unquote biggest Nintendo game there is,
Yeah.
Super Smash Brothers has to be in the conversation. I know we talk about the importance of like Mario titles and Zelda, which we're going to get to in a second, but Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, like these big like cross the whole Nintendo world games, they just kill it. Absolutely, and it doesn't hurt that they're amazing and brilliantly made. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is literally a port from last gen. Like, they haven't made Mario Kart 9 yet.
Yeah, and I mean, they've added some DLC that wasn't in the Wii U, but beyond that, it's pretty much the same exact game.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about it that way, that they sold this. Obviously, plenty of people bought it that didn't own a Wii U, obviously. And it's just going to keep going. I would not be surprised if this continues and we see this at 20 million at some point in the next year or so. Just because when you buy a Switch, you got to buy games for it, and who doesn't want to buy Mario Kart first, especially if you've never played it before? Zelda,
or even if you have,
exactly. I mean, we double dipped, and I didn't even feel bad about it for a second. So Legend of Zelda, which for a while had a higher attach rate than 100%. Like, there were more Zelda games sold than there were Switches at one point.
Yeah.
That's because nerds buying multiple copies because of collector's editions. I mean, we all know that part. But still sitting at 13 million sold. And that's obviously going to continue. It's getting outpaced by some of the more casual games.
Yeah.
But still, like, that's a lot of copies for a Zelda game. I gotta give it respect, though. I mean, you've heard me say this, that it's the best video game Nintendo has ever made.
Yes.
I'm sure that's going to continue to sell, too. Yeah, I've said it a lot. I kind of say it to pick fights now, because there are some people that are... The contrarians are starting to come out.
Yeah.
Because it's far enough away that now people are trying to rewrite history and try and say that it's not an immaculate game.
Yeah.
And I fight them.
Like, yeah, it was good, but, like, did you think about this? And then you're like, no.
And how about, I don't need to think about this because it's amazing.
Because I'm right and you're wrong.
Exactly. Also, how about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee selling over 10 million?
Holy cow.
Not really surprising, though, right? Because it's Pokemon.
Come on.
Now, these games were... So I think that really tells me one of two things, and we're going to find out this fall. Mm-hmm. Either those games reached the mainstream Pokemon audience when people didn't really expect them to, or they really did succeed in finding, like, new Pokemon fans that were, like, kind of out there, and that when the real quote-unquote games come out, that they're going to just go bananas. And I don't really know if I want to put my hat, which side of that debate I want to put my hat in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause 10 million is a lot, but those aren't like traditional Pokemon numbers, but they're still pretty good considering they just came out last year.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think the official games are going to sell more than that?
I think so, only because there's a lot of people who didn't like the aspect of the Go, like you throwing the Pokeball like you do in Pokemon Go. They wanted a more traditional experience, so they might have lost some of the people for that specifically anyways. But now I think that the people who had left will come back, but also the people who had picked it up might also pick this one up. So we could probably see some pretty high numbers on that.
It's going to be fun. I mean, at the very least, we know, man, it's going to be good because they don't make bad Pokemon games in general.
No.
Which is just crazy talk, right? I mean, this is just, I can't even imagine, like, we're not that far away from new Pokemon games. And Pokemon games on Switch.
Yeah.
Are you going to pick up Sword or Shield?
I haven't really looked at the differences, but I normally am a sword person rather than a shield person in literally all games. So.
All right, that's fair. I'm gonna pick up Shield. Well, we're gonna have them both. So I mean,
of course, you have like 17 children.
Yeah. Not 17, 3. Thank you very much.
But 3, I think, equals 17.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
fine.
much 3 may as well be a million. So we're gonna have them both, but I'm planning on playing Shield. But obviously, who knows? It's all gonna get scrambled up once E3, I guess, comes around and they give us more information because we don't even know what the legendaries are yet. But that's coming 5 weeks, I'm guessing. That's my prediction. That we'll know more at E3.
They have to come out with something big.
Right? They got to tell us something. So, Yeah, that's the Wii U. Or not the Wii U. The Wii U was not as successful. That was a while ago. That's the Switch. How about this for craziness? The Switch between now and the end of the year has at least one like super baller video game every month except May.
Really?
So from June on, it's got something. So in June, it has Super Mario Maker 2. Mm-hmm. In July, it has a new. Why? You know what? Why am I trying to do this from memory? Let's
just look at it right.
I have the internet. 2019 Nintendo Switch games.
There's a game that I'm really excited for that I think is going to be rated M, and I cannot remember what it's called right now, but it's got like JRPG stuff going on in it. I think it's made by the people from Bayonetta.
Oh, let's see, what are we talking? I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Here we go.
Astral Chain.
Astral Chain, yeah. You know what? We don't know we actually don't know
the ESRB on that yet.
ESRB for that yet. And you're fighting robots and stuff, so it could actually be okay. I don't know. We're gonna have to find out. So.
Yeah, it is rating pending, but it comes out August 30th.
Yeah, so we should know very soon. We got Super Mario Maker, and this is just first party. Super Mario Maker is in June. Fire Emblem Three Houses in July. Astral Chain is technically first party. It's being published by them.
Yes.
And so that's August. Another game being published by them, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. That's coming in July. Pokemon Sword and Shield are winter, but that means probably November because that's Pokemon month. Mm-hmm. Games that are coming this year that do not have a release date are Luigi's Mansion 3, Animal Crossing, and Zelda Link's Awakening.
Yep, all the good ones.
And so, assuming they are smart, which they generally are, and they spread them out 3 weeks to 4 weeks apart, we know they're taking off May just because we know there's nothing coming out, other than indie titles and stuff like that. That's a stacked rest of this year. I'm thinking about like the holiday gift guide that I have to write, where it's like, I have to list the quote unquote good Nintendo Switch games, and like, how do you narrow it down? Good luck,
quote unquote.
Like, how about just anything? If it says Switch on it, it's probably everything. I mean, I can basically just start writing it now.
Yeah, might as well.
And I can probably cheat and take some of last year's because, frankly, if you don't own them yet, they are all pretty good. It's just so crazy to think about. I mean, wasn't it? I mean, the Wii U 3 years ago, we were in the middle of the Wii U, and nobody was buying them, and everybody was negative, and people were talking on the internet about how. And I'm sure you heard it in your store, right? The idea of people suggesting that Nintendo go third party. Let's just stop making consoles, just make games, put them on PlayStation.
Yeah.
That seems so far away now.
Or people were talking about Nintendo falling apart completely, like...
Yeah. Well, that was insanity. That was just people that don't understand business, because Nintendo's got, like... They got some old school money. They have so much dollars just sitting in the bank. Because they're old school. So, like, they could survive a long time. So, for those, some of this, for the parents listening that are like, why are we talking about financial results? Really, this is more, for me, I wanted to talk about this because there are some folks that are gun-shy because of the Wii U. That are hesitant to buy into the Switch ecosystem or maybe buy a second Switch. Maybe they might see value in it, but they're worried that they don't want to spend money on it and then not get a long life out of the console.
Yeah.
This thing is 2 years old, and I would be stunned if they sunset it before a decade.
Yeah.
They'll iterate on it, they'll do stuff, but there will be Switch games coming out for a very long time. Because there's no slowing down in momentum that I can see.
And they're the only ones who have done it as well as they have with the on-the-go console as well as a home console. So until that comes on the scene where people are actually trying to copy them or make their own iteration of it, I feel like they're going to be ahead of the game for a very long time.
Yeah, they're going to be killing it. So, yeah, that's Nintendo. They're great. Now, admittedly, full disclosure, I am a Nintendo fanboy, so if you want to come at me about, but most of everything that you and I said are pure facts.
Well, and I'm not like the biggest Nintendo fanboy. I love Sony, so like me saying this stuff is like a completely different deal.
Get it. Yeah, you're a Sony pony. I get it. And it's true, but you're also a rational human being and know what 34 million Switches in 2 years means, right? Like it means
never ending.
It means that's a lot of Switches. And everywhere I go where there's lots of gamers, I just see Switches everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And it makes sense. It's a great console. It works. The big thing is it delivers on the promise that it made, right? Like and when they first announced it,
the PS Vita was so like, oh, you're gonna be able to do it from work as long as you're on Wi-Fi and blah blah blah, and like none of that ever worked that well. This everything that they said was gonna do, it does. So
absolutely. And that's a testament to Nintendo, right? Like they said they were gonna make a thing work, and man, they made it work.
They always do.
So, I think that's the end of our segment. I think it's time for our guests to have a turn. So, I think this will be the end of the show for you and I, Teala. So let's say goodnight, and then when you come back, it'll be me and Chris and Sarah. So have a good night, folks.
Good night.
We did it.
We did. We made it through.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engage, a family gaming podcast. My name is Steven Dutzman, and I'm your host. As always, we have some special guests who I'm going to let introduce themselves right now because they're coming from another podcast.
Hey, how's it going, Steve? I'm Chris Chipman from the Creating Geeks, a parenting podcast of great responsibility podcast. I also do the Chipman Brothers Tangent with my brother Movie Bob, the Talkbuster podcast, and Shooting the S with Chippa, which is a long form, free form kind of interview style podcast, a lot like most podcasts. Yeah. And sitting next to me is
Sarah. Creating Geeks is my only podcast, and that's it for me. It's about where you'll find me.
One is plenty.
Yes.
One is plenty. And plus, you got to put up with Chris. So, like, that's got to be like 3 full-time jobs.
Yes. And I take care of the children.
I mean, there's that too.
But it's more me. That's my job.
She's the one creating the geeks. I'm just giving them the geeky things to do.
You're giving
Fair
them
enough.
the power.
Yes, giving them the power.
Oh, man, giving them the power. Giving them the power. That's like an 80s thing. We don't give people power anymore.
No, that's true. Yeah, we don't give them power
anymore.
We kind of we give them complexes now.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. We make sure that they hope that they don't end up like us. So
that's the one.
So before we get too much farther, folks, I do want to thank you for listening. I want to make sure our podcast is as interactive as possible. So please feel free to reach out to us on social media. Hit us up on our Facebook page. That's engagefamilygaming.com/Facebook or facebook.com/engagefamilygaming because we're fancy. Leave us a message. Our community manager, Jeff, will send the feedback over to me, and I will do with it what I will. If you say mean things, I'll probably take it to heart and cry a lot. So don't do that. But so we brought you guys on, Chris and Sarah. The long and short for my listeners is I follow your brother on Twitter, and then I followed you on Twitter when you guys started doing your podcast together. And then you happened to tweet out that you were at PAX, and you tweeted out a picture of a business card that had a whole bunch of projects that you were working on, and all of them were relevant to my interests. And so I was like, okay, this guy and we need to be homies, more or less. And so I tweeted at you and was like, I need to go on your show and infiltrate your fortress, and you need to come and be on my show. And so that's what we decided to do. We figured it out, and I just got done recording a segment on your show that will air at some point, and vice versa. It's funny how the internet works.
It is funny. And yes, I like the term tweet at. It takes tweeting can be very visceral.
Yeah, I mean,
tweet
it's
at.
It's
tweet towards.
I have the I don't know if you're familiar with a gentleman by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk.
No.
No.
So he is not appropriate for families because he cusses a lot, but he is like a sales guru and like a social media guy. And the term he uses for like being like an individual entrepreneur or content creator, etc., like reaching out to people on social media to either do collaborations or etc., is he calls it hand-to-hand combat.
Huh.
And I actually think he's more right. You know, it sounds hyperbolic when you think about it, but it is kind of true. The cool thing about Twitter, and one of the things that I love about it, is, you know, just about every guest I have ever had on my show, you guys included, you know, I've been very fortunate to have some folks. A lot of it was because I just asked. Because if you're nice to people on Twitter, they actually respond. Because a lot of time, Twitter is so full of negative energy. And just hot garbage that when you are like that one shining beacon of kindness and light in someone's day, they actually respond to you. It's a fun,
Right.
you know, who knew?
It's a very different kind of interaction than like Facebook, because Facebook, you're kind of cultivating your own little echo chamber.
Yeah.
And on Twitter, you know, unless you're directly blocking someone, you know, they're seeing it, you know, and so, it gives me a lot of opportunities to be real, I guess is the word, and real me is very positive and very like that. You know, I approach people assuming the best, you know, so it's cool to see that take off so much. You're right, people really do seem to latch onto it and like it if you just, you know, if you're real through the hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. I mean, it's just and that's why I advocate. I know there are a lot of folks out there that are like, "Oh man, don't use Twitter, don't use this." I can't advocate that. I think it's a great tool. You just got to be careful how you use it, and you also just need to be very, very freely blocking people. If someone comes at me, I will often respond to them if I think they were just being silly. But if they're like being super rude, I just block the crap out of them, and I find I get visceral satisfaction from doing so. I lose the follower sometimes, but I'm kind of okay with it. So you two, Chris, you're on like 57 podcasts.
Yes,
I'm on like 57 minus 54. But you two do a podcast that I think is kind of adjacent to what I do, because you guys really focus on kind of the parenting side and also just kind of embracing all of geek culture. Where did that come from? Like, why did you guys decide to do that? Because you can podcast about anything. You could have podcasted about fantasy football if you wanted. Why this?
It's interesting. So Sarah turned to me and kind of said, "I'm not really sure." But
I don't remember.
So what happened was, you know, I did the show with Bob, and the tangent is exactly, you know, what the name that, you know, Sarah ended up coming up with says. It's Bob and I talking like, you know, like two really geeky brothers that grew up together talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd come home from school. He'd come home from working at Blockbuster before I worked there at like midnight. My homework was done, and we'd stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning just talking. And he'd try out material on me. You know, he was writing scripts or whatever, and we just talk. And it's become a really big part of my life, and a lot of my friends are that way too. So that one was very satisfying because I don't have to prepare for it. You know, it was like I get to catch up with my brother and share it with the world, and people like it. You know. So that became a very easy thing to do. And so I said, well, I want to do something that it kind of has a point, that has a structure, because the thing with Bob doesn't. And I love that about it. But, you know, I can talk for hours and hours and hours. Sarah is a more structured individual. So I said, you know, let's have a topic. We can research it together. You know, and I wanted to do a show like that, and I didn't really know what it was going to be about, but I wanted it to be something that we could both contribute to. And I locked into this idea of, you know, when we were first talking about having children, you talk about, you know, our parents, my parents growing up, my dad had this library of VHS tapes that were recorded off of TV.
yeah.
HBO movies and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
and your dad did too.
Probably not as
And-
much as your dad, but
And I always, joked with my brother that, yeah, my dad cultivated a lot of our geekism in the types of movies we liked, but my dad wasn't necessarily a geek in and of himself. My dad was kind of more of, and I don't mean that in a negative way, just my dad was kind of more of like the carbon copy, like American dad. He had his day job. He liked watching sports. He was more stereotypical, but he had these movies that, Superman, the Goonies, Star Wars, all these things. But the cool thing I noticed about him is he didn't have them because he was, in the back of the comic shop, geek waiting for people to accept him. He had these because they were popular. And that's the cool thing is, our geekness, you can get more out of it than maybe your parent even intended, or something different out of it, but it's kind of something that connected us and brought us together, even though he kind of looked at it as at more of a surface level, and I ended up looking at it, more from what does this story mean to me, and Superman, as this personal thing for me. So I was thinking, wouldn't that be a cool idea for a podcast as a parent to go, hey, I've got all this cool stuff that I remember that was really important to me growing up, that really formed who I am as a person. And it doesn't have to be even, we focus on, toys and old movies and stuff, but it can even be places. It can be arcades and, vacation areas that you used to go to. We've done a whole bunch of different stuff. And so that was kind of the idea, is it's something we could research, give people a background on it, give them the detailed idea of where it came from. Drive-in movie theaters is one of my favorite episodes we did, because there's still some around where we are. And if, number one, what do we think about sharing it with our kid? And two, is it appropriate to share with your kid? Because there's a lot of things that have kind of gone the way of the dodo in terms of, you look back on it and you go, well, at the time, I didn't realize that was, a not so good thing. But now you look at it and you go, I don't know if my kid's going to learn something great from that or not, anymore. Or am I going to have a conversation with them beforehand, to let them know, hey, the way that women are treated in this movie isn't necessarily right, or the language that kid is using in this movie isn't necessarily right. You go back to a lot of Disney movies of the 80s and 90s, the live action ones, and those kids are, dropping S-bombs and everything left and right because, that's what cool, young kids did. And there's a place for that. I love, Stranger Things as a throwback to the kids kind of sounding like kids. But at the same time, I guess we have a job as a parent to filter that and make sure they understand it going in. And it's kind of grown from that. Or I think we're about 14 or 15 episodes in. And I love doing it. And it's, this is the first time, we've gotten emails and tweets of people suggesting ideas, but this is the first time someone's asked to be on. So this is really cool. Or on the one we just recorded, our last one.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly an interesting topic. I think it's something that a lot of parents need. This is something I deal with, as the founder of EFG. We focus on games, obviously, but there are a lot of parents out there that, they kind of fall into two groups. They're the parents that don't really care, or they care, but they care about different stuff. Right. And so kind of the media that their kids consume isn't the top priority. They just kind of let that be. But then there are a lot of parents that care really strongly. And I have found that there's a pretty healthy subset of those parents that really do care, but they're lost. Right. Because they just don't know where to go and who to trust for that information. And I think I have found that it is always helpful for those parents to kind of hear that information from people that they can relate to, which would be essentially us. Because we can translate it to them, right? Like we understand, we can, kind of be that cultural Rosetta Stone to help make sure that they understand what's kind of currently being created or what has been out there, and kind of give them that filter. You know what I mean? So I completely see what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
No, it's 100% true. You know, the especially now, there's so much out there. It's, you know, you need a person that has experience with it. It's, you know, to use the correlation, you know, back to someone working in a specialty shop like a Blockbuster Video or a toy store, which we don't even really have anymore. When you have a knowledgeable person, you know, when's the last time you thought about going into a toy store and asking a young kid that works there, hey, what would be cool for my son? He likes superheroes. That doesn't happen anymore. You know exactly what you want when you go in. You don't interact with anybody and you walk out, or you go on Amazon and you sift through and you buy it. So there needs to be someone that either tests it out and makes a video about it, or has experienced it themselves and makes a video about it, and also says if it's, you know, if it's okay. You know, the way I look at media consumption for my kid is it doesn't have to be 100% devoid of everything and be perfect, and, you know, but to understand what might be not necessarily perfect for them and what I need to have a conversation with them about, because that's the real world, right? The real world doesn't filter itself. It doesn't shelter you. And so that can be in a video game, you know, you can break it down. I mean, right? Like, kids absolutely love Super Smash Brothers. I absolutely love Super Smash Brothers. But I know there's a lot of parents out there that don't like anything violent. And Super Smash Brothers is very cartoon violent, but still. So, you know, you have to figure it out. It's like, okay, is my kid going to be, you know, more apt to be aggressive or violent playing this game? And, you know, it's all about the conversation and how you approach it. It's like, you know, this is a silly cartoonish game, and silly cartoonish things aren't the real world, but you have to be engaged. Like you're saying, you have to be a parent that engages in that conversation and pays attention to what your kid is doing. Our daughter, Ava, one of my biggest things I've always been waiting for with a kid is being able to play video games with them. And because when I was a kid, the games that we played were side scrollers. It was Nintendo games and Sonic the Hedgehog and all this stuff. It wasn't, you know, Fortnite, you know? And so we got Yoshi's Crafted World the day it came out. And Ava, like, has seen me play Mario Odyssey and has seen me play Super Smash Brothers, and she watches it in passing and gets excited about it. But this game, she likes it so much that I've had to find silent Let's Plays, which are out there, so it's not a Let's Play with someone, you know, swearing and being, you know, a jerk over it. And she just wants it, like, so I don't have to play the game all day, but she'll sit down and, you know, watch that and just love it. She interacts with it. She's learning from it. She counts all the things that Yoshi's doing on the screen and she cheers him on. And as a parent, it just makes me so happy that same simple side-scrolling aesthetic that made me so happy when I was a kid, my daughter, you know, 35 years later is loving it.
Yeah, man, Yoshi is a special game.
It really is.
Because it's frustrating being on the internet whenever a Yoshi game comes out, because, you know, you and I, like, understand what it's for and who it's for, and it's not really for us.
Right.
You know, it's for our kids. But it's frustrating listening to gamers, and I use that, like, you know, I hate that term really, but
I can hear your
listening. Yeah, you can hear the air quotes, but, like, listening to gamers on the internet that don't have kids, complaining about how it's too easy and the accessibility is ruining it. And then, like, you and me would sit there and be like, no, you don't understand. Like, this game makes other games better, because our kids can play and interact with these games, and then they're going to understand how to play some of these other, you know, they can play other stuff. And it's like, you forget that's what Yoshi and Kirby do right now. Like, they're not for, you know, a 23-year-old that doesn't have kids. That's, you know, like, they should be playing Dark Souls. They can go do that.
Well, right, and that's the thing, right? The original Super Mario Brothers is a very difficult game, but it is not a difficult game to play. And I love that Nintendo has found these Yoshi games to go, we're going to approach it. It's going to be just as easy to play. Like the muscle memory of 35 years, right? You pick up the Yoshi game. You don't have to read the instructions. You know exactly what to do. The fact that like 7-year-old me could pick up and try the original Super Mario Brothers and know that this game was harder than I still, I've beaten it before in my life, but I still have trouble making it through Super Mario Brothers. But I like to try. And I love, because kids get frustrated when they can't do something, So the fact that probably shortly from now, my daughter is going to be able to grab that controller and play that Yoshi game and actually make progress in it, because it's a big game. These people are complaining about one of the most beautiful side scrollers I've ever seen. The game is just gorgeous. And, I go on sites like IGN and everyone read their reviews, and they have that same comment. Well, it's too easy, so we have to give it a 7. And it's like, okay, you don't like it, that's fine, but it is a very, very well-designed game. It just happens to be a simple game.
I think going back to, I want to jump in because stop talking. Can't throw that dick in there at least once. You were saying how people don't know where to turn to find out what's appropriate. I see that a lot on the Facebook groups I'm in for special needs. Our daughter's on the autism spectrum, and a lot of kids in these special, spectrum and ADHD and all that, a lot of times get focused on like a video game or some sort of media. And I see a lot of parents being like, well, is Fortnite safe? All their friends play Fortnite, but I've heard this and this, and a lot of what they're basing it on are the videos on YouTube that people have made where they basically hack Fortnite to look like something it's not.
Right.
So then people have to go in and say, no, there isn't nudity, there isn't this, there isn't that. That's just videos people have made and added their own crap to it.
Fun fact, you'll appreciate this, Sarah, because I have seen this. I actually had someone come up to me because I was talking to my son about playing Fortnite, because I let my 10-year-old and I actually let all 3 of my kids play. It's really weird watching a 6-year-old play Fortnite. She became Thanos
That's
today, and it was really weird. She got eliminated very quickly.
So I think that's funny.
But the thing that I wanted to share, because it's right along with what you're saying, Sarah, is I had someone that did not know what a skin was. And so they assumed, without verifying, that they were nudes. So, like, somehow you were playing Fortnite, but you could spend money to get naked pictures in the game. Because they heard skin, and that's what they assumed. And I'm like, no.
You can make your character look like something cool.
And there's people that were like, oh, well, there's this setting and this setting you can do, so they only play it this way. I think there needs to be more kind of like our podcast, or more people making content of some kind to explain to parents how they can play this game, especially where games don't come, like video games don't come with directions.
Anymore,
playing something
online.
like Fortnite that's, on a tablet or something, there's no instructions for a parent. So I think having some sort of instructional video would help for Fortnite and Minecraft, because these big games that everyone's kids are playing and talking about at school, and I respect parents that are hesitant and you want to make sure the game is what is appropriate, but they don't know who to turn to, who to ask. And obviously on the internet now, everyone hacks everything and makes it what it's not. So you see these videos people have made where they add their own stuff to the game, and parents they're like, oh my god, it's this, I can't let them play it, and that's not even it at all.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
so I think there is more and more of a need for some sort of podcast or some sort of media that explains how games work to parents. This is Fortnite, they can do it this way, just so they have something to
which is why the 3 of us have our little side hustles here, right? So we can help spread the word.
Need to do this. There needs to be a video game version. People need to get into this. There's a need for this.
There is. There absolutely is. I produced, and this is a subtle plug to those that listen that maybe don't go to the actual EngageFamilyGaming.com, but we actually have I have a bunch of guides that are essentially like how to use the parental controls for Fortnite on various consoles. And they have ever since I published them, they're some of the highest trafficked articles on the site. Go figure. And really, all I tell people how to do is like turn off voice chat, or
which is super important.
Hey, if you could get us links to that, I'd love to have that to be able to share with the Facebook page.
It's right on his page. I saw it.
You'll have to find
I'll get them. I'll send you the links.
Because that's a lot of the stuff people were talking about, is turning off the chat, or how to get it to like specific modes so they can only do this and this, but not.
I gotta tell you, the first time I played Splatoon, it was like a breath of fresh air for me, because number one, it's a great game. And number two, I'm running around and going, why am I enjoying this so much? Oh,
you can't
there's
hear people.
No one yelling at me.
Mm-hmm.
Till I came in the room.
You know,
well, but that's different. He that's what he bought. He knows what he understands. Right. That he bought a ticket for that ride. The getting yelled at by 10-year-olds is a challenge.
I don't need that, you know, because I'm an adult, so I don't want to say anything. That to me, like a 10-year-old repeating something nasty they heard, that doesn't understand the context of it. You know, I'm not worried about protecting myself from that. I'm worried about how I'm going to react, because I'm going to react like, you know what I mean? Like, we've all been bullied. We've all been young. You know what I mean? There's a switch that could flip where it's like, okay, I'm an adult in this situation, but I don't want to say something bad to a little kid. You know, that's
I agree.
The last thing I want to do. You know, I don't even want to be put in that position.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's one of those things. You know, I just I never use voice chat for really anything, unless I'm playing World of Warcraft, and then it's with my people that I've known for a decade.
That's a pretty different thing. That's a group hangout.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Well, but the thing with Fortnite, especially when kids are playing with their friends, it's similar. And so we had to open it up eventually. And so the rule we have for our guys is they can only use voice chat with their friends. So
which is a great idea.
So basically, like when you're in a group in Fortnite, on the upper left-hand side of the television screen when they're playing, is the list of all the people in their party. And if it's a name that I don't recognize, like some of the kids over time, like I figure out who like Shark Tank 89 is or whatever, right? Like I know who they are, but like if I don't recognize it, I'm like, who is this person? And if they can't very quickly say, oh, that's my boy Jose's, you know, cousin Lisa, fine, right? Like, at least they need to be, you know, like I'm fine with, my friend's cousin or something like that. What I don't want is strangers. So if they can give me like a very reasonable explanation for who this person is, and if they're like, oh, I don't know, it was a random Phil, that's the good news about having a Switch, is that I can just pull the Switch out of the dock and just yeet it as the kids say, into a drawer in the middle of their game, and that solves that problem.
Right.
And you know, that is the one hidden advantage to the Switch, is that if they don't turn it off, I can make it I can put it in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And realistically, they've been very good because I'm very clear about those boundaries, but I don't set like, you know, an electric fence around it. They're very good at self-regulating, and I think that that's something that a lot of parents don't know, is that their kids will self-regulate if you are reasonable and if you communicate with them, right? Like if you talk to your children and say, listen, I just don't want you talking to strangers, but like voice chat is cool, of course. So how about you talk to like your actual friends and maybe their friends, but not their friends' friends' friends. So it's like, as long as you know their real name, just as long as you can tell me, that's all I care about. And they're very good about self-regulating. And it's really only happened once, where there was like a random Phil that was on their voice chat. And I think it was at the end of it all, I shut it all down, but it was a reasonable explanation. So there was no need to ground anybody. It just kind of happened because, we've all played games where just stuff happened really fast. They call it a bang, bang moment in the NFL, right? Like it's that kind of thing where it's, it happened. We learned from it. We moved on. So, it's been really great talking to you two. I think we're gonna. This is going to be the beginning of a great content partnership because we're all going to be,
Yes.
we're going to be. I got to go on your Blockbuster show.
No, absolutely. Let me know when you're free next. We'll do that very soon.
Yeah, we got to do that while it's fresh.
Yes.
And yeah, absolutely, we should do that. So you guys, thank you very much for coming on my show, talking about your stuff. Obviously, for those listening, I will have links to all of their stuff in the show notes because I am presuming that one of the two of you will send them to me via Twitter.
Yes.
With all the stuff that you would like, and I will also do the same.
Great, thank you.
So, folks, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I believe I will be here with some of my other co-hosts, and we'll be talking about something. This is an experiment for our two teams trying to make this all work. So, you two, Chris and Sarah, it's been a pleasure to have you on my show. Until next time, don't forget to get your family game on.
Thank you for listening to Engage, a family gaming podcast.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week.